Ashley, there are some animals that for some reason or another, whether it's a bad experience or like a terrible TV portrayal, that we as humans have decided to hate. And I think that's really unfair. I don't know why we make these hard and fast opinions and then we're unable to see just how cool these animals are. Can you think of any like good examples?
Skunks.
Porcupines.
Prairie dogs.
Magpies.
Raccoons.
Raccoons.
Raccoons are my favorite. And they're also my daughter's favorite. We talk about raccoons all the time. We share raccoon facts in the car before bed. She even wears a raccoon costume to school regularly.
I have so many questions about the raccoon costume, but I think we probably need to get along with the podcast. And I can see now why you pushed so hard for us to talk about raccoons this week. In case you forgot, here's how this works. Ashley and I rate this animal on a scale of 1 to 10 in a variety of categories. We then average our scores to get their wild rating. First up, mobility. Mobility. It's how they move. We're going to start raccoons off strong with an 8.
Wow.
Yeah, I like raccoons a lot. I don't think I could get away with wearing a raccoon costume to work, but if I could, maybe, who knows? They get an 8 because sometimes they can move from den to den every night. So they're like finding a new place to sleep every night, which for most Animal Kingdom is like a wild thing. And their dens can be just about anywhere they can fit, which is super cool too.
Yeah, I see in picture books and on cartoons and stuff, a lot of times they have raccoons living in holes in a tree. Is that a place they would use for a den?
They definitely can make dens in trees. Historically, they really like to be around forests. But as people have kind of encroached in some of their traditional habitat, they found other places to live, like chimneys or like storm drains. You know, really anywhere they can fit. They're really adaptable.
Yeah, I could see that's why they get that bad rap we were talking about. But even though they get a bad rap, I gave them a 9 for mobility.
Woo! Stay
I
strong.
know, because I love them so much. And the reason I gave them a 9 is because they're basically like the triathletes of the animal world.
Remind me what a triathlete is.
So a triathlon typically involves running and swimming and biking. But in this one, I'm going to sub in one of those categories for climbing.
Oh, they can't bike?
Yeah, they can't ride a bike, but they're super skilled climbers. And they can even go down a tree face first like a squirrel. I don't know if you've ever thought about how hard it might be to climb down a tree with your head facing down. You got to have a lot of strength for that. And so that's impressive. Then, I don't know if you knew, but raccoons can swim. And they're actually really good at swimming. They swim on hot days just to cool off, but if they need to, they can swim up to 3 miles an hour, which is a pretty good clip.
Yeah, we talked about that with beavers. That's like really fast.
Yeah, it really is. And then finally, even though they usually just kind of ramble around casually, if they need to, they can run 15 miles an hour, which is faster than a lot of people can run for sure.
I feel like each of those individually isn't like crazy impressive, but all three together is nuts.
Yeah, when you combine those all together, they really are incredible athletes, which you'd never think from looking at them, which is why I gave them a 9. Now, let's scurry on over to size. Size. It's how big and small, how short and tall. We care about them all. So I gave a raccoon a 4 for size. I know I said I love raccoons so much, and I do, but their size isn't anything remarkable. They're pretty average for a mammal. Wild raccoons can weigh up to 40 pounds, but it really varies based on where they live in their range. 10 to 20 pounds can be more common, especially in like more northern climates.
40 pounds is a chunky raccoon. That's a big boy.
Yeah, I know. But like I said, it varies. So 10 to 20 pounds is definitely more common. And that's what the size of like a really big cat to a small dog. So nothing crazy. What about you?
Yeah, so I gave him a 7, and I feel like with the size category, I always cheat, and I never talk about their actual size. So I'm talking about their range size, which is really impressive. Do you know what has the largest range of any mammal?
Let me guess. Is it a raccoon?
No, it's not. It's a mountain lion. But raccoons do have a really big range, all the way from Canada down to Panama, so like all of North America, which is super impressive. But I won't get too much into a mountain lion's range. We'll talk about that in a later episode. Now, let's climb on over to accessories. Accessories are those special adaptations an animal has that just help it stand out. Raccoons get an 8 for accessories from me. And we'll talk about it kind of throughout the podcast, and we already mentioned it a little bit, but their adaptability is just so impressive. They can eat basically anything. Like if they can fit it in their mouth, they can eat it. And that's where like that trash panda reputation kind of comes from. But we think of raccoons as like eating trash, and they're also really good predators. They eat everything from like fruits, nuts, and berries to crayfish, frogs, insects, small rodents, bird eggs, all kinds of stuff. And really, truly just change their diet to fit their environment, which is super cool.
So you mentioned trash pandas. It can't be healthy for them to be eating people food, right?
Well, it's certainly easier to get in the trash than it is to like hunt crayfish. But being around people doesn't lead to like healthier, longer lives. It's going to put them in conflict with people. It's going to put them around cars and buildings. And eventually that's going to lead to a shorter life for those raccoons. And so we really don't want to be exposing them to people food as much as possible.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So I gave them a 7 for accessories. And that's because they have really sensitive paws with 5 fingers, just like tiny little human hands. Their paw prints are so cute, I think, in their tracks. And they can even use their hands to open doors and latches. Helps them be kind of sneaky.
I don't think I like that.
Well, I do. So they have a ton of nerve endings in those little hands, which lets them feel and handle objects really well, which does sound a little creepy now that I say it.
Yeah.
But you have to keep in mind they're nocturnal. They're awake at night. So they can't always see everything very well. So if you can't see and you're eating things at night, I would like the ability to really feel what I'm going to put in my mouth before I actually do that. So I think it's a pretty cool adaptation they have.
No, sure. I get that. But just like a little hand just kind of pawing around, feeling for things, and then opening doors. It's cool. I just
remember how
a little bit.
we're not going to lean hard into the bad rap they've got.
You're right,
I think
you're
it's so cool if you think about that as an adaptation and not as a creepy little thing.
No, for sure. This I need to lock in.
Let's sneak on over to style. Style, it's how attractive they are. Do they have any special colorations or patterns? For raccoons, the answer is yes.
Yeah, it is.
I gave them an 8 because they're super well known for their striking appearance. They've got that bold mask and a ringed tail. I wish it was just to stand out and be cool because they are cool. But it's actually a survival tool.
Yeah, it's so people can't tell who they really are underneath the mask.
That is so funny. No, they actually use it for camouflage, and there's a few different types of camouflage that they use.
Wait, camouflage isn't just like blending in with your environment?
It is, but there's different types. So the first kind that they use is an example of something called concealing coloration. So they have a mix of brown, black, and gray fur, and that actually helps them blend into the colors and textures of the forest where they live.
So I get the brown and the gray, trees and rocks. But like black, where does the black help them blend in?
I mean, when you're walking in the forest, there's tons of shadows and, sometimes dirt can be pretty black colored. So, and then another type of camouflage they have is called disruptive coloration. So the reason they actually have that mask and the rings on their tail is not for style, but it helps break up their outline in the woods.
Okay, so they don't look like one big solid chunk of something. It's like there's stripes, there's a mask. It doesn't look like one animal. It's just kind of, it breaks them up. I get it. I think.
So there's like shadows and stuff, and it helps them blend into that background.
Okay, that makes sense. I gave them a 6.
Okay. That's kind of lower than usual.
It's, you know what, they can't all be 8s, right? And I gave them a 6, almost purely on vibes. I really like how they look. They're like kind of round little animals, They're really cute, and the shape of them is very funny. And then the way they walk is like very bear-like. And so they look a little bit just like little bears with big long tails kind of wandering through the forest.
I mean, I'm not going to be mad about any of that. I love raccoons, and they are super cute when they kind of ramble around.
Yeah, and then they sit and there's a little balled up, raccoon. I like that a lot. That's not really like a good factor or anything, so that's why they get 6, but I like it a lot.
They're pretty fluffy and cute, so I'm not going to argue with that.
Yeah. Let's mask up and head on over to intimidation factor. Intimidation factor is how scary is this animal to other animals or to us. And you know what, Ashley, as I'm looking at this, I gave them a 2. But I think I'm going to bump that up to a 7.
Okay.
Because I'm going to talk about disease a little bit. And I look at disease as like a weakness, like disease kills animals. And, we talked about chronic wasting disease with mule deer, and like that's kind of a bummer. But these diseases are kind of all threats to other animals, which is the definition of intimidation factor.
Yeah, I was going to say diseases sound scary to me. I don't want to get one.
And so some of the diseases that we like really think about when we think about raccoons, rabies,
Yikes.
Spooky. Rabies has 2 forms. I don't know if you know that.
I didn't.
It has an aggressive form, which is kind of the form we associate with rabies, where they foam at the mouth and chase other animals around, trying to bite them.
That's intimidating.
And there's also what's called the dumb form. And the dumb form is literally they just kind of get really lazy and they get all drooly and they just kind of slowly die.
That's
Rabies,
sad.
yeah, it is really sad. Rabies is 100% fatal. There's really no cure for it. There is like vaccines and stuff, but I don't think we have the means to vaccinate all of our wild raccoons. So once they get it, they're going to die. And raccoons kind of are like the poster child, I feel like. It's raccoons or foxes of this aggressive, foaming at the mouth rabies. That's not really fair. It's not their fault. But they can get it, and they get it quite a bit. Another one is canine distemper, which, go ahead.
I was going to say you said canine, which sounds like dogs would get it.
Yes. And it's really prevalent in like our coyote and wolf populations. But raccoons can get it as well. And it kind of presents like rabies, but like that dumb form of rabies. So they just get really slow, they get really lethargic. This one is often fatal as well. Another one is raccoon roundworm, which they have their own worm, kind of cool. But this one is passed through their feces and can infect dogs and people sometimes. And this is kind of nasty because it's supposed to be in raccoons. But when it gets into people, it does all kinds of weird things inside of us, and it's not supposed to be in there. And so all of these different diseases and different parasites kind of make up this intimidation factor that really makes raccoons worthy of their 7.
Yeah, I would agree. And honestly, after hearing all of that, I'm a little more scared of raccoons than I was before. So I'll definitely give them lots of space.
Yeah, I don't think we need to be scared of raccoons, but certainly not giving out any hugs, anytime soon.
Definitely not. So I give them an 8 for intimidation factor. And I give them that 8 because of how smart they are.
Yeah.
They are shockingly smart. Another reason I love them. And I think it plays into their whole, mischievous persona they have, getting into trash cans, chicken coops, even people's houses. They're not trying to make trouble, though. They're just really trying to find food. And like I mentioned, with their tiny little hands that can open doors, they're so smart. They have, figured out how to get into places that have food.
That's true. I guess most animals, if they could get like free people food, would. But there's only so many that actually can access it. And they get all of the, hate for it.
Yeah, raccoons are just smart enough to earn a persona of being a trash panda, right? Like, I think a bandit, that's an unfair reputation. They're just super, super smart and using it to their advantage.
I mean, the mask doesn't help.
But we talked about that's just camouflage. It's not to be sneaky. Now, let's dig through that trash and find the razzle-dazzle. Razzle-dazzle. It's unique features that no other animal might have. I've been trying to keep it cool, but I'm going to have to give them a 9 for this too. Raccoons have over 200 different sounds they use to communicate with other raccoons.
200 sounds?
Yeah, it's insane.
That's like a DJ board. Do they make like fun car honks and stuff?
That is so funny. No, but they do make a huge variety of sounds. They can purr, chitter, growl, snarl, hiss, screech. And baby raccoons even have their own unique sounds like mewing and crying and whining. It sounds like people to me.
Ashley, can you do a chitter for me? What does a chitter sound like?
We'd have to look that one up.
Producer Stephanie, can we get a chitter? Oh, okay. I get it now. I just was trying to that's not a real word in my head, but I get it. I give him a 3.
What?
I know. Real coming down from the chittering. So they get a 3, mostly for a myth. I'm sure everyone has seen this video, and it's this raccoon, and it's holding cotton candy. And then it puts it in the water, and the cotton candy dissolves, and it paws around looking for the cotton candy. And so the myth is that raccoons wash their food. And that's just not true. They don't wash their food. They do, a lot of times, either hunt aquatic food or dip their food into water. But it's not about washing it, making sure it's clean. You can't really clean a frog off by dipping it in water.
Then what are they doing?
They're trying to use all those nerve endings you talked about to really feel what this thing is and really get more control and make sure it's oriented right so they can fit it in their mouth, right? So getting their paws wet helps stimulate those nerve endings, and it makes them even more sensitive than they already are. Their scientific name is actually you're going to have to tell me what this actually. Procyon?
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to look up how to properly.
I think it's Procyon loader, which roughly translates to the washer in English. So even when they named this thing, they kept the myth going, which I don't know. This doesn't seem fair. But it's not about washing the food. It's about making sure that they can really get a good grip on it, and then they can get it into their mouth without choking.
That's pretty cool. I feel like that deserves higher than a 3.
Well, the myth gets a 3. The act itself is pretty cool.
Okay.
Now on to their wild rating. Wild rating is, for those of you who've forgotten, the average number of points given for all the previous categories. Stephanie, can I get a drum roll, please?
So the wild rating for the raccoon is a 7.
A 7?
Yeah.
I think that's the highest one we've ever had.
So well deserved. I love that.
I feel like this was rigged.
By me, I know, because I love raccoons.
We went from, wow, what a fun underdog story, to actually it's the best animal that's ever existed.
Honestly, I think they deserve it. They're so cool. Their adaptations are just out of this world.
They are really cool. And now that we've learned about the raccoon, you may be interested in experiencing them in nature. There's a few options, but before you head out and try to find them, always keep your safety in mind. We talked earlier about all the diseases. You don't want to approach raccoons. And, if you see a raccoon out in the day, they are mostly nocturnal. Maybe give Game and Fish a call, especially if they're out in the open during the day. That's generally not a good sign. Another thing with raccoons, they get into trouble quite a bit. They get into trash, they get in houses. It's really important that when they get into trouble, you exclude them from that trouble. So if they're in your chimney, make sure they can't get into your chimney anymore. When you trap and relocate them, a lot of times what you're doing is you're moving these problems around and you're moving diseases around. And so generally live trapping and relocating, although it seems like it's really nice for the animal, is not the best solution. A lot of times they can't even survive in their new environment, or you've put them right into another raccoon's home. And so you're creating conflict. It's best to just exclude them, whether that's, wildlife-proof trash cans or, covering up your chimneys, whatever that looks like. And last but not least, never intentionally feed wildlife. It may seem cool to have a raccoon really close, and luring them in with food would be a way to make that happen, but it ends badly for everyone. And we really, really, really don't want that. I can't emphasize that enough. We don't want bad outcomes for people. We don't want bad outcomes for raccoons.
Yeah. So some safe ways that you can check out raccoons that I would recommend would be photography. Now that can be kind of tricky because we mentioned they're nocturnal. They're awake at night. But you can sometimes see them peeking out of a little hole in a tree or another cozy spot during the day. So if you do get that opportunity, give them space and snap some cute photos. If you have a trail camera, you can try setting it up to see what is up and about at nighttime. It really might surprise you to see how many other animals, including raccoons, are active at night, and get some cool pictures on your trail cameras. Lastly, you can legally trap or hunt for raccoons for their fur. Just make sure you check out your local regulations to make sure that you're following the rules. Gosh, I am so glad that we did an episode on raccoons. They're my favorite animal. They absolutely deserved the high ranking that they got. But I am looking forward to the next episode. Are you?